My name is Helen Ashworth. I'm a retired district nurse, living alone now in a two-bedroom semi in Leicester. Everyone has a compatibility index these days, with their partners, their friends, their children. Mine arrived 2 weeks after the archive notice. I scored 31 with my daughter Sophie. She's been dead for 2 years. The letter from the genetic registry office came on a Tuesday morning. Standard form, grey paper, the kind that looks important but isn't urgent. Sophie's genetic profile was being archived. Standard procedure for deceased individuals after 24 months. As next of kin, I had 30 days to download any reports before her data was moved to cold storage. After that, I would need to submit a formal request. I hadn't thought about her data. I'd thought about her room, her clothes, her handwriting on the birthday cards I kept in a shoebox under my bed. I'd thought about the sound of her key in the door, the specific click of the lock, followed by that particular creak on the third floorboard. But not her data. Data wasn't something you grieved. I downloaded everything that afternoon. I thought it would feel like holding her again, like finding a letter she'd written and forgotten to send. Some trace of her that wasn't just absence. The compatibility index was on page 4. I almost scrolled past it. Parent-child average, 72. Recommended range for healthy attachment, 65 to 90. My score with Sophie, 31. I read the breakdown 3 times. Emotional attunement, 19. Stress response compatibility, 28. Conflict resolution potential, 41. Bonding likelihood, 12. Out of 100. The number a stranger might score with another stranger. I closed my laptop and sat very still in the kitchen where she used to make tea, where she'd lean against the counter and tell me about her day, or not tell me, depending on her mood. I'd always thought I understood her moods. Now I wondered if I'd ever understood anything at all. The next morning I called the helpline printed at the bottom of the report. A woman named Patricia confirmed the score was accurate. She spoke slowly, the way people do when they've had this conversation before. 31 is unusually low, she said. But it doesn't mean, I know what it means. It doesn't mean you didn't love each other. But that's exactly what it felt like it meant. That's exactly what the number said, in its cold, precise way. Bonding likelihood, 12. How do you love someone you weren't likely to bond with? How do you grieve them? I started going through photographs that weekend. Sophie at 7, on my shoulders at the beach. I remember that day. I remember the weight of her, the way she gripped my hair when the waves came close. Sophie at 15, slamming her bedroom door so hard the frame cracked. I'd been furious. I'd said things I shouldn't have said. She'd said things too. We hadn't spoken for 3 days. Sophie at 23, calling me at 2 in the morning because she'd had a fight with her boyfriend and didn't know where else to go. I'd driven to Manchester in the dark, and she'd been waiting outside her flat, arms wrapped around herself. I remembered holding her that night. I remembered the specific weight of her head against my shoulder, the way her breathing slowed. But now there was a number underneath every memory. Bonding likelihood, 12. Was that why she'd called me and not her friends? Because she had nowhere else to go, not because she wanted me? I requested my own historical scores the following week. My mother, 78. My ex-husband Richard, 64, which explained quite a lot. My sister, 81. My lowest score was with my own daughter, my only daughter. I stopped sleeping properly after that. I'd lie awake replaying arguments we'd had. The time I forgot her school play. I'd promised I'd be there, but a patient had an emergency, and by the time I arrived, the curtains were closing. She'd seen my empty seat from the stage. I'd told myself she understood. I was wrong. The time she said I never listened, the time she moved to Manchester and didn't call for 6 weeks. I told myself those were normal. Every mother and daughter has difficult patches. Every relationship has friction, but maybe ours weren't patches. Maybe they were the whole fabric, and I'd been looking at the pattern instead of the thread. I went to her grave for the first time in 4 months. It was a cold morning, February, frost on the grass, breath visible in the air. I sat beside the headstone and tried to feel what I used to feel. Love. Simple, undocumented love. The kind that doesn't need a score to prove it exists. I couldn't find it. I could remember that I'd felt it. But the feeling itself was gone. Like trying to recall the taste of something you ate years ago. You know you liked it, you just can't taste it anymore. The memory of the feeling isn't the feeling itself. I called Patricia again that afternoon. I asked if there was anyone I could speak to. A counselor. Someone who understood what it meant to grieve someone you weren't supposed to love. She transferred me. I was on hold for 40 minutes, listening to a piano loop that repeated every 90 seconds. When a man finally answered, I couldn't speak. I just sat there with the phone pressed to my ear, trying to form words, and nothing came. 3 weeks later, I received a second archive notice. This one was a formality. Sophie's profile was being moved to cold storage, and any downloaded reports would now constitute my complete record. Her data would still exist, but I would need a court order to access it. The letter was very clear about that. I scrolled through the files one last time. Medical history, education records, employment data. The photograph on her driver's license, taken when she was 19, before she'd dyed her hair. And then, at the bottom, a folder I hadn't opened. Download history. I don't know why I clicked it. I was about to close the laptop. I was about to let her go. Sophie had accessed her own compatibility index on the 14th of February, 2 years and 5 months ago. 3 months before she died. She'd downloaded the parent-child report. She'd seen the 31. I sat with that for a long time. The house was very quiet. Outside, a car passed, and then nothing. Sophie knew. For 3 months she knew what I'd only just discovered. She carried that number through her last spring, through her birthday, when I drove up to Manchester and we had dinner at that Italian place she liked. She'd laughed about something. I can't remember what now. She'd ordered the puttanesca. She'd said it was good, through the phone calls where she asked about my garden, and I asked about her work. Through the text messages that said thinking of you and hope you're okay. Through the last time I saw her, when she hugged me at the train station and said love you mum, and I said it back without thinking. Without knowing what she knew, she never mentioned it. She never asked me why. She never gave any sign that she was wondering the same things I'm wondering now, whether what we had was real, or just what mothers and daughters are supposed to have, whether I'd loved her, or just played the part. I closed the laptop. I made a cup of tea. I sat in the kitchen where she used to sit, and I looked at the chair across from me, and I understood something I hadn't understood before. She didn't tell me because she didn't want me to carry it. She carried it alone so I wouldn't have to. 3 months. 90 days of knowing, and she never let it show. She just kept loving me anyway. I went back to the download history. The 14th of February. Valentine's Day. The same day she'd sent me flowers with a card that said thanks for being you, mum. I'd kept that card. It was in the shoebox with all the others. She wasn't thanking me for our compatibility. She wasn't thanking me for being a good match. She was thanking me for loving her despite the 31, despite the 12, despite everything the numbers said we shouldn't have been. She downloaded her death sentence and sent me roses. She read the score and wrote thanks for being you. I scored 31 with my daughter, and she loved me anyway, and I'll never know if I did the same.